Welcome to Lunch Money with Mike and Joaquin, where we talk about money, love, and life.
Yes, sir. Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited to be back. This time I have some special stuff, huh? Do you want to talk about that
Yeah.
a little bit?
Well, this is our very first interview in the history of Lunch Money.
Yeah, we also changed our channel name, by the way.
Yeah, we're throwing around some different ideas. No, it's the first official interview, and we are talking to George Lock Peret, who, Joaquin, this guy does what? Does everything.
A little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so we talk about a little bit of everything, and in this particular episode, we are going to talk about
COVID. Sorry. I mean, we talked about a lot, so I had to really think inside. Okay, yeah. So we
Yeah.
talked about COVID, and it's pretty interesting because we're getting the aspect of a.
Pharmacist.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so on it tonight.
Yes. So I think it's not just us lame people that don't know what we're talking about. This guy is a pharmacist. He sees it on the field. He has a better understanding than we do. So it's very interesting what he had to say. So
Yeah,
make
totally
sure,
cool perspective.
yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, share it out, and yeah, we beg you, and enjoy this conversation.
Yeah. Lots of new subscribers and friends. We want to say hello to them all and welcome aboard. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Stop being a loser and join the family.
Yeah, it's free. Just hit that button. It's free. Trust me, it's worth it.
Yeah. We'll even pay you. Can we pay them?
Uh,
We don't have any. We don't have any money.
We don't have any money yet.
Okay.
We'll work on that. Maybe we'll pay
work
you
on that.
one day.
Well, let's get right into the interview with George Lock Peret. Here we go. There's a lot of talk right now about you're a pharmacist, and so you've got a lot of information that we common people don't. And I mean, this are mortal people.
We're participants down here.
Yeah, as peasants. But so there's a lot of talk about, especially in this election cycle and everything, that coronavirus is on it's either on the corner or we're headed for the dark winter.
Yeah.
So what is your
Game of Thrones style.
yeah.
Okay.
So what is your stuff? What is your take on that?
Now, this is just my opinion, and you're going to have all people that say different
Mhm.
positions. Like, I could find you. Here's the really tough part, and right now in the time we live in, is there is so much information, and as a medical professional, to be able to stop and disseminate what is real, what is fake, what is without a clear guidance
Mhm.
from a CDC or whatever, or an oversight body to say, hey guys, here's the new ruling. Here's the new treatment. Instead we, like, I feel horrible. I ended up at some points knowing more than doctors on parts of COVID because I had time to do research. They were stuck working ER shifts nonstop. And so they literally just didn't have time to look up the updates. You know what I mean? So that's one part right now with all that. But man, I mean, the best way I've heard it put is you need to be alert but not anxious. Is from a doctor that
Dr.
I was watching. Yeah, Dr. Mike, exactly. He said it great. It's alert but not anxious. Don't get me wrong. There is precautions I would highly recommend any person, because I've had I had a close friend of mine, my age, super healthy. Took him down for 2 months.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I've had patients who, now we only have had one pass that we know of from it. So it is very unlikely, but a lot of people, what they're not realizing is this is a big issue too. We had this with another patient. Post-COVID, you actually still have a lot of risk, especially if you're really athletic. They're sometimes seeing issues with clotting, issues with heart or liver. So like, I don't know if you saw, I forget what NFL player, he was like, hey, I'm taking my training sessions back, going very slowly because they're seeing all these things. So there's just so much going on with this virus that we know. It's kind of like I said, I know a little bit about a lot of things. We know a bunch of little pieces, and now we're trying to weave it all together.
Right.
But it's that balance of, we've always done it one way. Here's how we know it works, with vaccines and whatever. Now we're trying to evolve and get it faster and everything. But there are going to be extra risks with that. You know what I mean?
So the FDA approved or is it approving
Remdesivir, I think.
remdesivir? Yeah. So what
As
what did you think about that?
Well, I mean, all right, and I think they did. I haven't read it myself, but I think I saw something as a highlight. I don't want to say something, especially
Yeah.
as like,
Well, I was watching on the
actually
news this
being
morning.
a
Yeah, they're
supposed medical professional here.
yeah.
But no, I think it's good in that sense. At least from the trials I've read, I haven't, dude. And like I said, that's the tough part. Literally, the
So,
4 trials coming out today.
how do we, like people that aren't professionals, maneuver in this environment when people like you or doctors are having a back and forth? How do we maneuver with like what's going on, like as in people that don't really know the terms or the studies or any of that?
Yeah. So, and that's the part where I hate to say it. I have doctors I completely disagree with.
Yeah.
And there's people that disagree with what I say, but I know what I've read and so it's just kind of like in every field, and that is so difficult for the public.
Right.
Honestly, I think the best general advice: go to the CDC's website, read the CDC's website, just go there. They literally will spell out a bunch of things. One thing I would highly recommend, if you happen to get COVID, any age, you want to get a pulse ox, the little finger pulse ox monitor. So I had a patient, what they're noticing is as it attacks your lungs, it ends up being so as a younger person, let's say I have 10% of my lung function damaged. My body is naturally going to like start breathing a little faster. It's like when you're higher altitude.
Oh yeah.
So they give you that medicine to keep you from getting altitude sickness. You know how it works. All it does is makes you breathe faster.
Really?
Yeah, makes your respiratory rate increase. So you have less oxygen, but you're breathing faster, so your body's compensated, right? So your body will actually naturally do some of these things. So as COVID's hurting your body, you're not getting any side effects yet. You don't even know something's wrong. You're asymptomatic, as they would say. Then let's say now 20% of your lung function's gone. All of a sudden you're like, man, a little bit of shortness of breath, So you go see your doctor, and it doesn't seem like anything's big. And then all of a sudden, I mean, at 20% lung function, like, dude, you're going downhill fast, but you just didn't know. And so that little finger pulse ox, like $15 on Amazon. I can tell you 3 patients who literally said, you have saved our lives because of it. Like so one of them, like I said, I can't tell you, but I can tell you their symptoms and stuff. She had COVID, had a fever, and she had a cough. No shortness of breath, nothing.
Wow.
And her cough got a little worse, the family said. But her pulse ox went from like 98. So your normal, a good range is like 95 and above. And it dropped in like 2 days to like 78. No new symptoms, just a little bit more coughing. And they rushed her to the hospital and they put her on oxygen. She ended up being okay. But they were like, we would have never had an idea.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like your body has to be so bad until you have a symptom. But it doesn't know, like that's your kind of early detection. And I had another one where this is actually one of my really close friends. It was his mom. And hers started dropping. Now it wasn't COVID, it was pneumonia.
Wow.
But she lives, I think, by herself. But she was actually losing to where she really couldn't tell because she was so oxygen deprived. She like wasn't making sense. And so she couldn't even tell she was going bad. She just told him the number. And he was like, oh God, we got to get you back in.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that.
So there's the like, and like what Joaquin's saying, we're like just the normal public here. We don't have the education that a lot of doctors and pharmacists have, but you hear the numbers being put out on television. I don't know how much was it. 120,000 people have died so far.
Oh, it's 200,000
or 200. Yeah. 210,000. Yeah. I know there's a 1 and a 2 and a 0 in there somewhere, but 210. And we hear that number so much now because I think it's an election cycle. And so that number's being pushed and used and bent and just all kind of things. But, me as a father and a dad and a businessman and just trying to live my life and everything, I ask myself the question all the time, is there a big difference that we're seeing in I died with COVID or I died of COVID? Yeah. Because that number just is being used a lot.
I see what you're saying. So it's a little bit, here's the thing. It really is truly percentage wise. The odds of a true mortality are pretty low.
Mhm.
I think I ended up doing the math to try to explain it to somebody, and I'd have to recheck the numbers in America because other countries, like if you go look, Korea's death rate
Mhm.
total, last time I checked, was in the 400s
Really? Yeah.
total. Singapore, I think,
Mhm.
was like under 1,000
Yeah.
total deaths. Like, so, okay, hold on a second. There's a huge pact, but also South Korea already wore masks ahead of time. They did that as like a cultural,
Yeah.
because they're on, buses and trains all the time. And so if you had a cold, it was a social norm to wear a mask out.
Mhm.
And so it was a lot easier for them to hurry up and isolate. And so that's where it's, I kind of honestly forgot what your exact question was, but
Well, I'm just how many of those people that they're in the 210,000
oh, got it.
number are actually, you died
Real.
of coronavirus,
Yeah.
not you died because you had something else
So
and coronavirus happened to be,
and
part of
that's
it.
and that's the tough part about all of it. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of them. There's probably a lot of deaths that people didn't even know they had COVID
Mhm.
that probably were there. They're unaddressed. And then there are some that are probably a little overreported, but it's not. And truly how it works, the virus does not kill you.
Hmm.
It's your body's overreaction to the virus. So
Really?
it's called
Huh.
ARDS. It's a
Yeah.
acute respiratory distress syndrome, I believe. And so it's like your body is actually attacking itself. It's never seen this virus. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like an allergy.
Yeah.
So like pollen. Say you have a pollen allergy. Literally, that's just your body thinking it's a pathogen and freaking out. And you have too much histamine, you have too much.
Hmm.
That's a non-harmful. Now, this virus does hurt you.
Yeah.
But what happens is your body's able to fight it, but now it just keeps fighting. So what it does is it starts attacking your lungs more.
Hmm.
And so your own body is helping almost the virus attack it. It's like
Yeah.
rheumatoid arthritis. That's like literally where your joints get attacked by your own body system. So
Really?
that's actually what's kind of causing more of these. That's what's really causing the death is
Hmm.
that. So sometimes it's like, hey, I had COVID, and because of COVID, I developed pneumonia. And the pneumonia is probably what led more to the downfall than this. Or I had COVID, now I had acute renal failure, then
Yeah.
I had this. And so there isn't a clear one answer,
Mhm.
to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
that's what makes it tough, especially as a medical professional. It's like,
So do you think we're rounding the corner, or do you think we're dark winter?
Wait,
What's your?
before I have a quick question. So out of like that 220, whatever we're at currently, do you think that's a fair number? Do you think it's a little
I mean,
a little deflated? Because I think there's that case where you were talking.
let me look at math here. Hold on. We have what, 330 million
Yeah.
roughly people?
Mhm.
Yeah, because that way I'm super curious because I do hear both sides of people saying that we're actually underreporting, and there's people saying that we're over.
I
Yeah, because we're doing more testing than any other nation in the world.
that's a lie.
We're not.
No, dude.
We're not.
No, dude. No, dude. Okay, so look, that's probably a very fair number. That's probably underreported. That's 0.6%.
Mhm.
That's 0.6% of the population as passed
Mhm.
of our 300. So now, mind you, we might be doing the most testing now because of our size. But if you
Mhm.
did like testing per capita,
Yeah.
like South Korea had tested almost all their people in the first like 3 months, or something crazy like that.
So what do you think about that? South Korea, you use that as an example. What do you think about if the U.S. government was tracking your phone? So because they were
Oh
doing
god.
that. So see, that's what I'm saying. So at
Yeah,
what
I'm
point,
not.
like, where are we with like, should we do what South Korea, not North Korea, what was South
Yeah.
Korea, like track everyone's phone, and that way we can know, contact trace. So again, like I do see that South Korea is used a lot as the example. Same thing with some parts in China that they have. I don't
Well,
want to say less rights,
I
but like
wouldn't go off China's numbers, honestly. You just can't know for sure.
right.
I want to, but
Yeah.
like Singapore or certain other countries.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I was just
these countries that China is its own. They can lock the
yeah.
building up and do whatever they want. You can never do that here. That'd be in like an uproar.
Yeah.
So at what point? This is just all of our opinions, of course. Like, do you think it's okay for the government to track our phones? That way we can know where the contact is spreading, or it's just there's no right answer. I think we can all agree
Yeah.
on that. So I just want to like hear your thoughts on that.
So actually, there's a great podcast. Joe Rogan interviewed Snowden again recently. I think it was like a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about all kinds of interesting things. And one of the things he said, was it was so they actually it was really cool. I never realized this. I guess all the files that were top secret and they couldn't look at went before the Supreme Court finally because they could show them.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually said they proved that the information he leaked was illegal, and the NSA like broke the law. So he was right. Now he's not pardoned, but the stuff he showed was like the Supreme Court said, "Yep, that's totally illegal," and that's the weirdest. Like you're like, "Huh, okay," but I'm still, stuck here or wherever. But anyway, but one of the things he said, which I found, because you're right, I don't know that answer. And I sit there and I battle with that too, because you're like, you sit there and think, oh, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, why do I care? Yeah, but there's still that. It was one thing he said, and it was kind of a good balance. He was like, with more power, more accountability. So like, I have to, if you are the president of the United States, you're pretty much agreeing to like, hey, I'm going to have to be the most accountable person here. Like you can hold me to the highest standard because I have access to everything. Right. So if I break any rule, you can, I like that approach in that sense. I don't know how it actually applies, but it's just the best way I can think of logically to say what is that right. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know.
That's the thing. Like just the scale of this is too crazy. Like if there was 15 people or even 5 million, but we're talking about like an entire country, and the culture of America is freedom, so like we would never stand for that, and I'm not fighting for or against it. I just thought about how things would go down if that would happen like that in the States, even though I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also here's the kind of crazy part is another podcast I watch, I didn't realize as much, unless you do something with your settings, like your iPhone tracks your every movement.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so you're already kind of being tracked. Like it was a really good Neil Strauss's podcast, To Live and Die in LA. And he actually helped solve like a murder. It was like one they couldn't find, and he got a private investigator, and it's unbelievable, like totally worth a listen. But one of the things, he was shocked, and they pulled up the guy who they thought did something. I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody watches, but and they pulled up his phone, and it was like, it showed boom, 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 boom. Like you're at this tower, like as he's going. And then you hit like a dark spot. And I'm like, so yeah, they see every, like my phone will just pop up and it's like, I see you came home. I'm like, I just came to this Texas place. Like
Google Maps has a timeline. It literally like just tracks wherever I go. But the difference there, it's that it's a company compared to the government, right? So what's like the worst thing Google can do to me? Like force me to buy their new phone or something?
Or sell your data to the government?
Yeah, if that's happening, then that's clearly an issue, right? So if that's going on, which I personally think it is, but then people can say that I'm crazy, So it's like, I don't know what's going on, but to me, it's like in China, what's going on with China? These companies are owned by the Chinese government. So like they're tracking, the government is the one that has all that data on us. But if the government is actually keeping all that data that Apple and Google has on us, I mean, I personally don't know. But again, so should we use that data to save COVID, to stop COVID?
Yeah, I mean, it's
the great trade-off. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
You live and die by the technology. I've got, I just had I had at my business, we had an employee who was stealing from us. And we caught him because everything you do at our store leaves a digital fingerprint. So it's and the employee doesn't understand this, but that technology allows us to track every dollar, everything that's going on. And it's the technology that we love and we need, but we also, there's eventually we're going to probably be giving up freedoms to have that stuff. It's just like anything else, And
I think that's where you need to be able to somehow, and I'm not saying that's even possible now, separate when I'm willing to give up this freedom and when I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I'm at work, I'm agreeing I'm going to give up that freedom by putting my finger down, and you're seeing every biomarker I do, I signed that. But on the long, Apple agreement where, do you agree?
Yeah.
Can you track and have my firstborn? Like, I agree. You don't know what that says. None of us do.
It is creepy when you're sitting around talking about M&Ms
Oh,
with a
dude.
friend, and then
And it
all of a
pulls
sudden
up
you
on
get
the
all the
phone.
ads for M&Ms.
So freaky.
Yeah, that is weird. Um,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
We all just got a little creeped out, I think. We're all like, oh, looking at our phones like, what is
Yeah,
And
it's
we're over here recording this and putting it on the internet.
on the internet. Yeah,
I hope Google's listening and Apple.
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Oh,
but,
man.
yeah. So back to the COVID thing. I was just curious because again, I hear both sides. The numbers are inflated. The numbers aren't as much. So I think I don't know. I don't know. But
And
again,
it's,
I just don't know. And I think it's okay for us not to know.
yeah.
But again, it gets tricky when there's people that want to be in power or that are in power that want to do a certain thing, and like they're listening to these doctors, and then they're listening to these doctors, or they're going to this study, and then they're going. So it's like just super confusing and chaotic, and I feel everyone just feels kind of tense and stressed out right now because we don't know who to listen to. But remember what you said about the oxygen thing. I
Yeah.
think that's a very useful thing that you can just buy from Amazon for $15. And if you're feeling a sort of way, just throw that on, and they'll give you some.
Oh, dude. When I was working every day, I checked mine every day.
Yeah.
It's easy. I mean, it's literally just 10 seconds because you could be asymptomatic, and that actually kind of be an early detector. They were using it. It was funny. I was telling people to do it, and Bill Gates came on, and he was like, Germany's been doing pulse oxes for yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh my God, finally somebody listened. Because I remember I saw a Twitter post from a doctor when I was in my rabbit hole, my black hole of studying, because a friend of ours had COVID and really early on, and a doctor put a post up there, and he's like, I had a patient. They walked into the ER. He's 25 years old, and he came in with an oxygen saturation of 70%. It was like he just got off Mount Everest. And he goes, what the hell has happened?
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have seen that post, I wouldn't have done my research on hypoxia and all this. And then, okay, hold on, let's go through how this works and look through the virus and then what's it attacking in the lungs. And I was like, maybe that's a good detector. What's an early warning sign that's easy and affordable? And until we get more data and such, my perspective is, what is something that could do good but with no harm? That's how I have to, because I have to live with myself if I give advice. So like, for me, for studies I've read, it's low dose vitamin D, like 2,000 to 4,000. Now, because there was a study that came out. There you go. Low dose, like 2,000 to 4,000 units a day.
2,000.
Yeah. And because here's the thing, though, and this is where stuff gets twisted. You can twist any data. That's what, if you're a good statistician, anything can be manipulated. So this study just said everybody who died from COVID had low vitamin D. Now, that doesn't mean, hey, COVID could have caused it. We don't know. But I'm like, does taking some vitamin D, is that going to hurt me?
Yeah.
No, not to that low of a dose. And it's like 70%, I think, of the population are like low in vitamin D anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, that's a small thing where this could help save your life, or it could just help your bones. Exactly. And so like same with vitamin C and zinc. Zinc has shown to decrease the mortality rate by just a minuscule amount, but still, is that going to hurt you to take unless you have some super, there's always an exception, of course.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Where you have to kind of hold your tongue and can't.
I do. Yeah, you do.
Just because it's just like a 0.5% of that population, and like because I'm kind of like that too. Like I don't want to say absolute about anything because there's always that person, and then I won't be okay with myself. So I always have to leave myself with that out, right? But yeah, like little things like this Costco brand 2,000 IUs for $9.
Yeah. So I will tell you this. You made a perfect point. Because as you said, there might be that 0.1, I had this happen. And I had somebody, and I never get on Facebook, but somebody was like, this is 100% cure. And it's from a doctor. And I was like, the fact that you just said something is 100%, there's nothing that's 100%. Yeah. Like, that should be your radar right there. Boom. Like, come on. Don't. And it just got too political. I'm not even going into that, but it's like, that's where you need to just stop, think, what is some logic? What did this person say? Okay, this no matter what is always going to cure me. Nothing, no antibiotic we have can I guarantee 100% of the time. Hey, I could probably 99.999, but is there that 0.01 like you were talking about? Absolutely. So it's like, when you hear things like that, that's when you need to pause, I think, and go, okay, I need to really look into the source.
Right.
100%. I'm going to cure arthritis.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
Like a radar, right? Like it's
Yeah.
a filter, like
Ping.
yeah.
Caution. Look into,
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wasn't that awesome?
That was extremely educational. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was great. We're totally doing this the same day, right after the experience.
But man, this is there are many other parts to this interview, so don't miss the other parts. We're going to talk about other stuff like Bitcoin mining, the stock market. We're going to talk about investing. We're going to talk about marriage. There's so many things we talk about in this interview.
Yeah, so make sure to subscribe and catch the next episode or part of this interview, which was a lot. Like, again, there's learning from your failures. What is Bitcoin investing? There's so much great information. Make sure to check it out, and we'll have the next episode soon.
Cool. We'll see you soon.
Take care.